All right, here we are at the model sentences for stage 6 of Cambridge Latin. We're going to notice a lot about the tenses in these model sentences. So I'm going to go through them very slowly just so that we have a very clear sense of how to identify each of the tenses, both their number and tense, as well as how to translate them correctly. So let's look at this first example. Servi per viam ambulabant. Now, servi is something we've seen before. It's a second declension nominative plural, so it's the slaves. Perviam, we know that's a prepositional phrase. It's an accusative of extent. And then we've got ambulabant. Now, we know from the nt ending that it's a third person plural, so there are more than one person doing it. It's a they verb. But we also see that there's a ba in that. So it's ambulabant, not ambulant, which means that it's not happening now. It's not a present tense verb, but it's an imperfect tense verb. That means not that, it means that it was happening in the past and that it has not completed, or at least we don't know if it's completed. It means that it could still be happening. So remember, we translate the imperfect as a was or were plus verb ing. So was or were verbing. Now, this verb means walk, so was or were walking. And since it's a plural, it's going to be were walking. So these slaves were walking through the street. All right. Now, this next sentence right here is going to be a little bit trickier. So it's canis, we know that. That's a third declension nominative singular noun. So it's the dog or a dog. Subito, that's an adverb that means suddenly. And then latravit. Now, latra we've seen, or latra we've seen before, and that's a present tense verb. It means bark. I think we saw that in stage 1. But notice that this has a little v, and it's not latrat, but vit. Now, it is an ending that is usually associated with the perfect tense, especially off of the perfect stem. And the perfect stem will have the present stem plus an infix. And in this case, the infix is as v. And let me go ahead and jump back here. I'm gonna show you something right here. Yeah, this slide right here will show you how these are the 4 conjugations, by the way. Well, not exactly the 4 conjugations, but they're verbs from different conjugations. And notice that some of the different perfect stems are formed with v's, and v and u are the same letter in Latin. We differentiate them today, but they didn't have different letters back then. And then also s, and notice that it's a c plus x s sound. So c and s together is a x sound, and that's why it changes to an x. So perfect stems are usually the present stem plus an infix that is either a v or an s most of the time. There are a few irregular examples that will be a little bit different, but this is at least 95% of the time what you'll see. All right. Now let's go back here. So we know that this with this v is going to be a perfect verb. Now, being a perfect verb, we know that it means that it happened in the past and that it's completed action. It's not still going on. So it's not that he was barking and he could still be barking, but it means that he barked. So this sentence means a dog suddenly barked. All right. Now that we've kind of gotten that out of the way, we'll go a little bit faster with some of these sentences. Grumio, third declension nominative singular. Canem, accusative singular, third declension. Direct object, timebat. And then we see we've got a bot there. Remember, bombos bot means it's imperfect. So Grumio was fearing or was afraid of the dog. All right, pretty simple. We're getting the hang of this. Now, let's look here. Pestis clamavit coquus. Okay, pestis, we know that this is highlighted red, so it's vocative. He's shouting out at the pest. And then coquus is our nominative subject, and clamavit has a V in it, and it has a VIT, so therefore it's going to be a perfect tense verb. So that means that the cook shouted pest. Now, let's go ahead and look down here. Clemens erat fortis. Clemens erat fortis. Now, erat is one of those imperfect forms. Right over here, we've seen it, of sum, right? So erat is aramasarat, and erat is going to be a third person plural, or third person singular. So it's going to be more or less means was. We'll just translate it as was. So Clemens was brave. So Clemens and fortis are both nominative singulars in the third declensions, and they're linked with this imperfect copulative verb. So clemens erat fortis is Clemens was brave. Sed canis clementum superavit. Sed means but. It's a conjunction. Canis, as we've seen before, is a nominative singular subject. Clementum is an accusative direct object. And superavit with that V is going to be perfect. So it's going to be a completed action, but the dog overpowered or overcame Clemens. Alrighty, let's finish these up. Quintus poruiam ambulabat. So Quintus was walking through the street. So Quintus is the subject. Poruiam is an accusative of extent and a prepositional phrase. Ambulabat, remember bombos botus bont, is imperfect. So Quintus was walking through the street. Now let's go ahead and look at 8. 8 is Euenus audiuit. Euenus is the third declension. We get the word youth. So the youth or the young man. Audiuit, we see a V in there, so therefore it is perfect tense. All right, so the youth heard, and then it would be clamorem. I think that word just I forgot to write that in there. So the youth heard a shout, and clamorem would be accusative singular. Canis clementum vexabat. So canis is the nominative subject, clementum is the accusative direct object, and vexabat is an imperfect verb. We can tell because bombos botus bont. So was verbing, and we know that vexo means to annoy. So the dog was annoying Clemens. All right, let's look up here at 10. Quintus canem pulsavit. Quintus is the nominative subject. Canem is the accusative direct object. Pulsavit is the perfect tense verb. We can tell because the V and also the endings are isti, it, imis istis, erunt. So we've got that it ending right there. So Quintus hit the dog. Servi erant laeti. This is the plural form of aramasarat or ramasarat. It's that copulant verb, which means that it's linking two nominatives together, a nominative subject and a nominative predicate nominative. So the slaves were happy. Slaves were happy. So this is an imperfect form of sum, so we're translating it as was or were. It's were because it's plural. Servi quintum laudaverunt. So servi is a nominative plural. Quintum is an accusative singular, and laudaverunt is going to be a third person plural perfect. We can tell because there's a V and also that erunt ending. So go back over here, 2 slides, and we'll see, remember that it's isti it, imus istis erunt. That erunt ending is third person plural perfect. All right. That is it for the model sentences in stage 9. I will see you in for the first long translation of stage 6 in our next video.